made in Britain. All across Britain, there are movers and shakers and melody makers, and hard-working products bearing the load. We're a nation of innovators and inventors, and our products are exported all around the world. And we're always looking for ways to make life a little easier, whether it's in the garden, at the stables, or on a building site. And there's one family-run company helping us to do just that. Here in Willenhall in Wolverhampton, the Walsall Wheelbarrow Company still make every part of their iconic wheelbarrow on site. Now run by Barrow brothers Simon and Jonathan Thacker, they take after their granddad when it comes to pushing the envelope, or the wheelbarrow.
My grandfather started to innovate in the 1940s with making steel wheelbarrows rather than the wooden one.
Fred Thacker's design wasn't the first steel wheelbarrow of its kind, but it was launched at just the right time to help a war-torn Britain to rebuild.
He came up with the idea in the 40s. It was after the war, so there's a lot of the major cities were being reconstructed. The M1 motorway, they always said, was built on wheelbarrows.
These days, the wheelbarrows are still in high demand, and their best-selling product is the 85-litre black construction wheelbarrow that sells for around 40 quid.
So this is our traditional black wheelbarrow that we make, and a traditional good working day we can produce 3,000 of these a day. If we go back to the 1940s when my granddad first started making wheelbarrows, he would only produce 100 a day. So we've come a long way in the last 70, 80 years from what my granddad did to what we do today.
So let's see what it takes to make a British wheelbarrow, starting with the barrow body itself.
Part of the process in making the wheelbarrow is producing the wheelbarrow body or the pan. What the operator's doing is oiling the sheet that will go into the press and form the outer shape of the wheelbarrow.
The sheet of mild steel is oiled to lubricate the tool inside the press. It moulds this flat sheet into the barrow body using 250 tonnes of pressure.
The sheet we're using today on the 85 litre is 0.8mm thick, so when it's formed, it makes a strong, durable wheelbarrow body.
Next, the barrow bodies are put through an automated shaping process.
After we form the first part of the wheelbarrow body, we go on to the next process, which is taking the excess steel off around the wheelbarrow. And the shapers move the excess steel away from the wheelbarrow body and from the press so it doesn't get all caught up. From there, we move on to the next stage where the flat will be flattened and curl the wheelbarrow body lip around the part of the body. That gives it the inherent strength in the top of the wheelbarrow.
Then the essential holes for fixing the frame to the body are drilled, and the company's Flying W logo is pressed into the side. There are 6 of these dancing robots and 6 pressing machines on this line, which all in cost over £1 million to set up.
It takes about 30 seconds for one wheelbarrow to go through the whole of the process.
That's 120 wheelbarrow bodies an hour. Surely they couldn't make the frames any faster, or could they?
The next part of the process making the wheelbarrow is the wheelbarrow frame. So what you see behind us is a complete bending system. We take a piece of tube, it gets fed through the system, and the 2 hydraulic heads bend the frame into the shape of what we can see is a wheelbarrow. We'll probably do something like 1,800 frames in an 8-hour day. This is a unique system.
The frame is made by bending a 3.6 metre long tube that's 30mm thick. And because there's so much bending to be done, an automated system has its advantages.
We can fill the rack at night, go home, put my feet up, have a pint, and when I come in the next morning, we've got all the frames done. So it works 24 hours a day.
The frame's not quite finished. There's still a few more parts to be added.
So we're now in the press shop where we make all the parts that are either welded onto the frame or actually help assemble the wheelbarrow. We're fairly unique and then we make the whole wheelbarrow on site. So here, for example, these are the front fittings that go on front of the wheelbarrow to give the wheelbarrow extra strength, and the rest of the presswork is all the components that attach the wheelbarrow frame to the wheelbarrow, all the actual wheel brackets for the wheels for the wheelbarrow itself.
And with the brackets and fixtures made, the frame is ready for welding.
Now we've bent the frame, the next part of it is to put the components onto the frame so we can assemble the wheelbarrow frame to the wheelbarrow body we've seen made earlier on. So what we're doing behind us here is welding the components on manually. This is still the way that a lot of our wheelbarrows are produced.
This isn't much different to how the first wheelbarrows were made here more than 70 years ago. But the company are always looking for ways to speed things up. In addition to hand welding, they also have a new semi-automatic process.
So with this we have both the man and the machine working together. It's putting the components into the jig, and while the robot's welding one, the operator's getting ready for the next one. And so it's a continuous weld, whereas on the manual system, the welder has to jig up himself, so half his time in a working day is actually jigging. So this is twice as fast, if not 3 times as fast, as a manual operator.
No time to hang about then. There's still one more key component to make.
With every wheelbarrow, you need a wheel. We make the wheel from scratch here at the factory. And we start off with the granules that will then be formed to make the wheelbarrow wheel centre.
These granules of polypropylene plastic are melted down to a liquid form. The molten plastic is then pressed into a mould under high pressure and the wheel centre is forced into shape.
That takes about 54 seconds for us to form a wheel, and then a robotic arm takes it out and puts it on the conveyor belt. Because the other important part is it can't be touched until that wheel centre cools down and hardens, so the integrity and strength of the wheel centre is complete.
This single moulded piece of plastic is stronger under pressure than 2 welded pieces of metal would be. You could say they've reinvented the wheel. The inner tube and tyre are then put onto the plastic wheel centre and inflated. Out of every batch of 150 wheels, 2 or 3 are picked at random to be tested. Dimitri slowly cranks up the pressure.
So we're now waiting for a very big bang.
First, he fills the tyre to the recommended pressure, then double, then 3 times. How much more can it take? I guess you never get used to that.
So now we can check. As you can see, the inner tube has burst. The tyre is intact, and more importantly, the wheel centre is as good as it was when we first did it, and that's why we put wheel warranty on it for life, and the best, strongest wheel centre made today.
I guess that's a really good wheel then. Anyway, moving on. These wheelbarrows will be painted black. It's the most popular colour the company make, although the more colourful gardener could opt for a brown, pink, green or purple. The wheelbarrow bodies and frames are passed through an oven at 115 degrees for 5 minutes to dry before the powder paint is applied.
So there's an electric static powder that's blown on to the wheelbarrow body. There's a charge and a magnetic field holds that onto the wheelbarrow. As it goes into the oven, which is at 180 degrees, the powder then melts and cures in the chemical reaction and has to stay in the oven for 15 minutes. A bit like cooking an apple pie.
In the oven, the paint cures to a tough, glossy finish.
So the reason why we use powder paint is that a wheelbarrow in its life takes a lot of physical abuse. So therefore, by giving it the best finish, even when it's being used, the cover of the paint will cover for the lifetime of the wheelbarrow.
Time to put these wheelbarrows together. A team of 12 assemblers put together more than 3,000 wheelbarrows a day. But Dennis here can build one in under a minute.
Dennis is rather unique in that he's one of our assemblers who can do 350 a day. In fact, he's probably even better than Robert, but don't tell him I said that to you. Nobody can get anywhere near what Dennis can do. He's been with the company for 16 years. He's one of our best assemblers. And when he goes on holiday, we all cry because we leave him 350 wheelbarrows a day. It's a bit like a pit stop challenge. We've got all the components and it's Dennis's job to put all them together.
Time for the final component, the rubber handle grips. And that's it. The wheelbarrow's complete. Only another 348 to go, eh, Dennis?
That wheelbarrow now is ready to go to our customers. All the wheelbarrows we make in a year, if you fill those up with water, it would fill 13 Olympic-sized swimming pools. And if you put our wheelbarrows end to end, the amount of wheelbarrows we make in 1 year would reach from London to Edinburgh.